Hey guys, trust all you guys are doing well. Happy belated Christmas and a Merry New Year when it comes. So this is the last video of the year for us over here at pianolessonwithwarren.com, and what I've done is just a compilation of the top 10 tutorials of 2021, and by top 10 I mean the most viewed tutorials. I just wanted to do a summary. For those of you who may have missed those tutorials, here's a highlight of those top 10 tutorials, and links to those tutorials are also in the description of this video. So if you want to go check out the full length, which I highly recommend you do if you haven't seen these tutorials, they're very informative, packed with a lot of good information and practical tips that you can begin to apply to your playing today. So you can click the link in the description to take you to any of those videos mentioned. And again, I just want to wish you guys a happy new year when it comes. Big thanks from us to you guys for continuing to support the channel, for all the comments, the goodwill, and just positive vibes you've been showing me all these years, and throughout this year especially. You know, things have been exceptionally difficult, I'm sure, for all of us. So just want to give you guys a shout out to say thank you. You're much appreciated, and 2022 is going to be even better. I'll still be here doing tutorials and giving you guys the best that I have to offer in helping you to master your piano playing by ear. All right? So check out these top 10 clips from our top 10 videos of 2021. Bye for now. The term relative minor simply states that for every major chord, there is an associated relative minor. For example, key of C, the relative minor for C is A minor. And the reason why we call them relative minor is because they share a lot of the common tones that make up the C major scale. The C major chord, that is. So if we take C major chord, C, E, and G, and if we take an A minor chord, we have A, C, and E. So you realize that two of the notes from the C major chord also can be found in the A minor chord. So here's the movement I'm showing you. So we're on that one. Jesus on the main line, tell them what you want. Right? And you might say, Warren, what's going on there? All right, first let's break down a little bit of the theory for those who like to be able to see the theory first before they understand it. So I'm going from a 1 to a 4. And all I'm doing, I'm putting a specific type of passing chord. Before I get to the 1, I'm using the chromatic median, which is a 3 dominant. Then I'm going to the tritone sub of the 1, which is that G flat, and then down to my 4. So, just on the main line, tell them what you, Jesus on. And if I were to count it, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first step number 1, if you're giving a cluster of notes and someone's saying, what chord am I playing? The first thing you're going to do is arrange the notes in alphabetical order. What am I talking about? We all know that we only use the first 7 letters of the alphabet in music, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So that's the alphabetical order. That's how the letters are ordered also on the piano. If we take A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. From there, we just go back to A, B, C, and so on. And we also know that the black key gets their name from the white key. So if this is C, this is C sharp, or we can also call it D flat. That is called enharmonic equivalent, with one note having 2 names. So that's sort of a rough, a rough dive into the whole numeric and alphabetic order of the keys on the keyboard. So step 1, that says to arrange the notes in alphabetical order. That's what we're going to do. So if I give you this chord right here, So before I get to this A7, I am approaching it with this A flat. So chromatic, because the notes are moving in half steps, chromatic. So I'm doing, but then I kind of further extend that A flat into a, now we got a flat 13th, or you can call it a G flat 13th, right? I mean a G sharp 13th. A flat, G sharp, same chord. You can also throw that B flat in there as well. So then I can go, and I'm just shifting the same voicing of the chord upwards. So now I take this A7 and make it into an A13th. So, ask me not, O gentle Savior. Here we go. So, we understand this part now. We're doing chromatic movements. Right? Now, what is this other chord that I'm throwing in there? I'm basically playing this. Oh, that. There we go. That's the chord. The key about the secondary dominant is how it's resolved. A secondary dominant always resolved a fourth up. If it's not resolving a fourth up, then it's not a secondary dominant. It's most likely another one of the dominant 7th chords we're going to talk about. Now, oftentimes where you see the secondary dominant raise its head in gospel music is when we're going from a 2 to a 5. So in the key of G again, my 2 chord, my diatonic 2 chord is supposed to be a minor. But oftentimes in gospel music, we make this into a major and turn it into a dominant 7. So if we take an old song, like say, Pass Me Not, O Gentle Savior. Pass me not, O gentle Savior. To the 5. Hear my humble cry. Now, what we often do before we get to that 5, we can put a secondary dominant that takes us to the 5. So it's resolving a fourth up, an interval of a fourth. So then it sounds like this. Pass me not, O gentle Savior. Hear my humble cry. So you see right there, I use that A7 as a passing to take me to my D7. This is called a secondary dominant passing. Chord 1, chord 6, chord 2, chord 5. But to get it that gospel bluesy sound, we have to take all of these chords and turn them into dominant 7th chord. So instead of playing my 6 as just that regular A minor, I'm playing it like that. It's an A7. Now instead of playing my D minor, my 2 like that, I'm playing it like a dominant 7th. Now when it comes to this 5 chord, I'm doing something slightly different. I'm playing this chord right here. Very common chord in gospel music. Call it, sometimes you'll hear people refer to it as the 5/4 or the 4/5. You'll hear some people refer to it as a sus2, sus4 chord. Forget about the terminologies right now. Just simply think about playing a 4 chord in that right hand or up here. And then we're going to play the root, 7, and 5th of the 5 chord in the left hand. And you get that nice sound. Now, one of the things I like to do is flick it. Flick that middle note, that A to that A flat, that nice grace tone. So then we have then so that first turnaround I'm going for the 3, well not the 3, the 1 in first inversion. So I have that E here, or the 3rd of the chord, and my root here. then what I often do is take my 1 chord in second inversion, then I go to my 4, which now is in first inversion, then I turn this A into a diminished 7. Then I resolve that back to my 1 chord in second inversion. The first thing, piano players, and this can even apply for non-piano players, but show up to rehearsal on time and be prepared. Tip number 2 for keyboardists playing in a band, and this is just something I have sort of developed for myself, I found personally, is to bring extra chord charts to rehearsal. Tip number 3 is to be prepared to be able to play the song a half step higher or a whole step lower or a half step lower. Let's jump to tip number 4. The singer is always right. Tip number 5, avoid playing the melody unless you're playing a traditional hymn. Tip number 6, and this is another big one, avoid playing too low in the bass register. You want to get a bass player ticked off? Play in his register too long. Bass players don't like that, and rightfully so. That's their domain. Tip number 7, communicate with the second keyboard player or the guitarist of the band. Tip number 8 is to pay attention to the overall tempo and volume of the song in the absence of a music director. So if I'm going from C to F, I can do a 2-5-1 passing. So then I can do 2, 5, and 1. Still take me from C to F, but now I just added some variations to the chord. My chord 2, the reason I'm calling it 2 is because it comes from the key of F major. G minor is a 2. And the reason why I'm calling it 5 is because in the key of F major, 5, C is the 5. And then I resolve to the key of F, which is 1. So that's why we call it 2-5-1 passing, even though I'm playing in the key of C. The concept of 2-5-1 that will take me from C to F comes from the key of F major. So that's why we call 2-5-1, which is the destination, in this case, going from C to F. 1 is that destination, so then we have to pull 2-5 from that 1, which is F, which is why we get G minor, C's 13th, back to F. So that's my crash course in 2-5-1 for those of you who are wondering what this is. If you really want to learn more about 2-5-1 in details, Piano Lesson with Warren is where I have that stuff in a full course format. Kirk Franklin, Love Theory. Now that song is in B flat minor. And so for the first half of the song, or for the intro and the first verse, the song is basically moving between G flat major 7 to a sort of an the B flat minor 11, or B flat minor sus2 sus4. You can think about it as that, really, you know. Sort of playing around with that minor 11, minor 7 sus4, sus2 sus4 kind of thing. So it's just going between this and this. Now that crazy rhythmic intro, the bass player starts, first thing you need to know about harmonizing melody is that, one, we try to stick to the diatonic chords of the key we're in. Wow, that was a mouthful. What am I talking about? Diatonic chords, blah, 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 all of that. Okay. We're in the key of C in this example, right? So the diatonic chords, C, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. Those are the chords of C. And the melody pretty much stays within those notes of the chords. So we make sure that our harmonized notes also stay within the key. That's tip number one when we get to the harmonization section. Tip number two is we try to harmonize the melody using notes of the chord we're on. So whatever notes you're using in that right hand to harmonize the melody, it should match one of the chord tones. So if I'm playing a C major in this left hand and I'm harmonizing, I want to make sure that the other note I'm using to harmonize matches one of these notes. So in this case, I can harmonize it with that G, because the G, it's a diatonic tone, but it's also a chordal tone. It comes from the C chord. That's tip number two. Tip number three, and this is one of the big tips, this is one of the secret takeaways for playing chords with melody. Harmonize the melody in intervals of fourths, or interval of thirds, fourths, and interval of a sixth.